making billions. Tra la 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 la. Show me the oil revenue so I could believe it is true. Taxpayers' money. Tra la 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 la. Added more to our economy. Tra la 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 la. Where is the wealth and prosperity? Tra la 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 la. All my optimism is replaced with skepticism. Production costs and profits, tra la 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 la, are considered basic, tra la 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 la, in any decent business, tra la 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 la. But no transparency to the people of this country. Show me your motion, tra la 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 la. Don't hide information. Tra la 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 la. You claim you're making billions. Tra la 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 la. Show me the oil revenue so I could believe it is true. Now you're running a pipeline without a proper study. You don't export declaring gas is clean energy. But what about the cost? We'll be running at a huge loss. Tell our leaders not to do this. How can they be so foolish? It is the nation who will pay for the wrong things done today. Show me your motion. Tra la 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 la. Don't hide information. Tra la 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 la. You claim you're making billions. Tra la 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 la. Show me the oil revenue so I could believe it is true.
The third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Only the people are poor. When people didn't have enough to eat, when people were driven to the edge of desperation, there's billions to be made there, to be carved out and to be taken. The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the bauxite. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped. They're overexploited. They're overexploited. They're overexploited. The third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Only the people are poor. When people didn't have enough to eat, when people were driven to the edge of desperation, there's billions to be made there, to be carved out and to be taken. The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the bauxite. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped. They're overexploited. They're overexploited. They're overexploited.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Friday edition of the Lall Show right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. My name is Josh Van Zeppelin, of course, and I'm happy to be here with you this evening. So, without further ado, I'll hand things over to the man of the hour this evening, Mr. Lall, who will make his presentation, and of course, we'll chit-chat with you a little bit in our program this evening. Mr. Lall, good evening and welcome.
Namaste, Josh.
Namaste.
Namaste to all you guys. Namaste, Guyana. It's Friday. No drinks tonight, Joshua. Only regular water. You gonna stick with regular water or you want coconut water?
That's fine, regular water.
All right. You know, it's because I wasn't invited anywhere. Invitation getting tough these days, Josh. Money is not circulating. But it's time that I report to you and all Guyana, Josh, on a matter that has been on my mind quite a while now. I would have mentioned in the passing on 1 and 2 programs about it, but I never really came out in full to tell this story. I don't know if you remember, myself, Adam Harris, and the Kaieteur News was sued 19 times in one day by Winston Brasington back in 2014. You remember?
Yeah.
Right. Well, last year, September, Justice Fidela Corbin tried 5 out of that 19 lawsuits. And she awarded Brasington $3.5 million each with a 4% interest rate attached. That's $17.5 million in total. A few months later, Justice Navindra Singh tried one and awarded Brasington $10 million judgment. Those 6 cases, when you tally it, it amounted to $27.5 million plus some legal fees and lawyer fees. That moved the total to $34.4 million for the 6 cases. And there are 13 more to be tried. The lawyer for Winston Brasington is Timothy Jonas, and my lawyer happens to be Christopher Ram. Mr. Brasington and his lawyer went and obtained from the court a garnishment letter to take out the cash from the Kaieteur News account. All I get is a phone call from my bank, Josh. Yeah, stating that all the cash from our account has been garnished by a court order. And every other cent we deposit will be taken out until them get the full amount, the 34 point something million dollars, with interest.
Wow.
Since then, I have applied to the High Court to have a hearing to work out a payment plan. I was given the 6th of October for this hearing. So I'll be going there on the 6th of October. I am not running from paying. But Josh, oh man, give me some time now, man.
Yeah.
Give the company time to pay. It's COVID. And I don't have to explain what's going on in the world, what's going on with business at this time.
Precisely.
It's been staring every citizen across this universe, what's taking place. You know, Josh? And I am not upset with the judges. That's their judgment. And I have to abide by their decisions. I have no qualms about that. You hear me?
Yeah.
Monday gone, Justice Corbin rendered another judgment in which she awarded, this time to Brasington, $2 million for case number 7, which takes the total now for Mr. Winston Brasington to $36.6 million. I must let you know, Josh, that one of the judges had suggested that both parties sit and come up with some kind of settlement on all the remaining matters. When I heard that, I smiled and told my lawyer. My lawyer did ask them, you don't want to hear the figures they wanted, Josh. I told my lawyer, if I have to pay a single cent of what they wanted as settlement to Winston Brasington, then the judges in this country really have to try them all 1 by 1 or 2 by 2, and whatever their decision is, Lall will pay them. All I'm asking for is time to pay. Even if I have to pay with interest, I will. But I will always stand my ground as to what I believe in. Joshua, the ex-president Donald Ramotar had sued me too. You guys remember?
Yes.
Right. And I lost that case too. That case had to do with the Kaieteur and Kanji oil blocks. Well, they say he had a couple files on its desk the last days before the 2020 elections and signed them off. Yes, the same oil blocks where Robert Prasad said he never meet the owners and can't remember who the lawyers signed on behalf of the owners of the oil blocks. You hear me, Josh? Lall and the Kaieteur News reported that story many times. The judge found that we and the Kaieteur News went too far and couldn't prove what we said about him in the newspapers, which was true. I was in the court. You know, when you say certain things, you can't prove it, that's fine. I can live with that. So Justice Navindra Singh awarded the ex-president $20 million on that matter. You know, Josh, his money I plan to borrow, if it comes to that, and pay him. But he didn't send me no garnishment letters yet. I feel sorry for him, you know, Josh. I really feel sorry for him. I really do. He get caught up in a den. Wagati now may be holding his head day and night when he realized how he was conned in life. So in total, between Brasington and Ramotar, myself, Adam Harris, and my company owes them both $55 million plus. Let me make this clear, Josh, Miss Harris. I want no sympathy, no help from not a single soul to pay Winston Brasington and his lawyer. That man above will show me the way to take care of it, to pay them off. You hear me, guys?
Yes.
Yeah, man, I believe that. I just don't believe the world we live in. I always remember myself, Adam Harris, and a lawyer named Sanjeev Dattadin appeared before the 5 judges at the CCJ in Trinidad and Tobago for an appeal, a judgment handed down by our local courts to a man named Walter Ramsahai against the Kaieteur News and us. When he was put on the stand at the CCJ and asked by one of the judges if he lose any friends due to the article the Kaieteur News published, he took a while to answer and said no. He was asked by another judge if due to that article he lost any patients. He think a while and said no. When he was asked if due to that article he lost revenue, he lost money. Man, Josh, the doctor head was going up and down in court, side by side, thinking what to tell the judges. He had to be asked that question again by the judge, in which another judge said to him, "You have to answer that question, doctor." He finally think for a moment and said, "No, Your Honors." Of course, they asked him some other questions, and then the court adjourned They adjourned the matter for their decision the same day at 2:30 p.m. Josh, the reason for those questions was for the judges to know how the article affected his pocket or himself as a doctor, so they can decide if he's entitled to damages and how much he's entitled to. Joshua, you know the doctor did not wait for the decision. He jumped on the 3 p.m. flight and headed home back to Guyana the same afternoon. The judges reverted the decision by the High Court and ordered him to pay my lawyer fees and all the costs going to Trinidad and Tobago. You know, he died and never paid us a cent. Man, I got to tell you all this. When we walk in the courtroom, it was full with a set of lawyers representing Walter Ramsay. When I see those lawyers, I told Adam, I said, oh mama, we dead here with one little lawyer named Sanjeev. The doctor even had the ex-attorney general of Trinidad and Tobago, Senior Counsel Ram Logan, heading the battery of lawyers. You know, Sanjeev did a wonderful job here. Thanks, bro. Thank you. You know, I never boasted in my life. But sitting at the helm of this newspaper for 27 years and at the helm of this radio station, I could honestly say, Josh, without a doubt, that I have never knowingly set about to tarnish anyone's character. Yep. Of course we poke fun. Make a little laugh story whenever it arises here and there. But never for a moment, Miss Harris, I willfully or intentionally try to tarnish anybody's character during my 27 years of this Kaieteur News. I am not saying the Kaieteur News is a holy book. I am not saying that the newspaper never did any wrong, or any of my editors and journalists did wicked stuff using the newspapers. I can't swear for that. But I can say without a blink, anytime we make a little mistake, I am the first to say, correct it and apologize to the individual or individuals. That's who I am, and that's how I run this newspaper outfit for the last 27 years. I believe, Miss Harris, that if I offend or wrong anyone, I am always ready to say, bro, sister, I am sorry. We are sorry and we'll correct it. Yep. That's how I live my life. Yeah. I am not here on this earth to harm or bring anyone down. I am here to help build someone, make everyone happy. I'm here to make this world a better place in which I come here and meet it. And if in the process I am wrong and is penalized, then so be it. I have to bear the consequences and the costs, and I will surely accept it with love and not hate. Miss Harris, the spirit that lives in me give me smiles each day and all day long. Yep. I know, not believe, that the man up there sees and knows everything that goes on in our hearts. And my day will come. Did I say namaste? Yes, you did. Let me say namaste to all Guyana. You know, Josh, Wednesday night, I spoke about our opposition leader.
Yeah.
I told you guys he talked my name sometime back. And I promised you guys Wednesday to fill you in with exactly what he said. Here is one part of an interview my ex-editor-in-chief Adam Harris did with him on the progress of the PPP in 1 year in office and emancipation. I'll play clips of what he said. I have a few. They're very short. So you guys stay tuned and listen carefully what he said during that interview. Could you play the first one, please?
That what we are seeing here is what we are seeing here
used to speak about
is what
in the 23 years.
Glenn Lall used to speak about
in the 23
of
years.
Guyana. I call it the
heist
second heist of Guyana. I call it the second
Because
heist of Guyana.
While the PPP
Because-
they are dismissing people, they're doing this and they're doing that. Those actions
are what I call a smoke screen behind which they are distributing the national patrimony of this country in a way that is not transparent, in a way that is very selfish, and in a way that goes to their own friends and families.
Now talking about it.
Ms. Harris, you heard that? He said Glenn Lall was talking about the heist of Guyana during the 23 years of the PPP rule. And he called it the second heist of Guyana. He's correct. He's correct when he's talking about the second heist. Because when he went in there, the coalition went in there, they tried to outdo what the PPP did in 23 years, in 5 years. There was no difference between the PPP government and the coalition government. You hear me, man? Them put prime state lands, what belong to me and you, Mr. Bernard, our assets in company names, and the owners of the companies didn't even know about it. One man refused to accept it. Mr. Bernard, the coalition so bad that it was reported, and we carry those stories boldly. You know what they went? They went and gazetted we assets and put it in people's name. Yeah, man. And got the nerve to now tell we that the PPP is distributing the people's patrimony. Meaning the people's wealth. And he said they're hiding and doing it. He didn't hide it. Them do it barefacedly. Here are some examples of the land that they gazetted in June of 2020 when they found out that they lost the elections. 123 acres of prime lands were given out to 10 companies that call themselves developers without any tendering done. I wonder what would be Harman's response to this. Maybe tell Adam Harris secretly, because that wasn't on the tape. Could you play the next piece of tape for me, please? I have to ask Adam if you...
The wholesale selling out of Guyana. The wholesale selling out to the foreigners of Guyana. I have so many examples to give to you, Adam, that is that are so makes you angry. It makes you angry when you see what is happening in this country.
Lovely, man. Makes you angry, right? The man said the PPP wholesale selling out of Guyana to the foreigners. And he got so many examples to give you, Adam, that will make you so angry when you see what is happening in this country. Where's the examples this man talking about? Like I said, I got to ask Adam, because Adam had to collect it and had to have it and got it there. Adam, you would have to share them with me. Man, you people believe Harman can be real, buddy? You really believe this man is the opposition leader of this country? This man talking about selling out Guyana to the foreigners, when he sat at the helm, presided over the ExxonMobil contract, the biggest sellout ever in the history of the world, not the region, not Guyana, the world, and got the nerve to tell this nation through an interview that the PPP is selling out this country to the foreigners. Man, he was second in command of the coalition. And guess what, Miss Harris? The Zinjin Gold Mining Company was authorized and given permission to buy out Aurora Gold Mines with new concessions, new giveaways for our gold. Under his stewardship and Tratman, Bosai branch in Matthews Ridge that I talked about a few nights ago, with the Chinese fetching out gold, manganese, and all the minerals. You know who signed those contracts? His government. Those things were authorized by Raphael Tratman. And he talking about PPP selling out to the foreigners. You see?
Interesting.
Guys, you think these people for real? This one selling out, that one selling out, this one blaming this one blaming that one, and they're both, this is what goes on in this country. While you have three-quarters this country starving. Josh, could you play another piece of tape there, man? Let the people hear them for themselves.
That maybe some of these transactions take place in mosques. And, you know, if you name Muhammad or something like that, you stand a better chance of getting anything. So you can get a contract for security. You can get a contract to build the prison. You could get a contract to do quarrying. You could get a contract to provide transportation. And so the world is at your feet, simply because you have access to paraphernalia. And this is not all. I have spoken to several Guyanese businessmen who are now complaining. They said, look, there's an atmosphere of fear in this country, that even though all of the national patrimony is being handed over to the Trinidadians and to other countries, other people from other countries, they are being shafted, but they're afraid to speak. When last you heard again at Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or the Public Service, the Private Sector Commission, issue a statement criticizing this government? When last you heard Transparency International or the Guyana Transparency International say something about transparency? This is the worst period of time that we're going through here, Adam. And people are afraid, the businessmen are afraid. Someone wrote me yesterday and told me about it, and it's a situation where a businessman was coming from Trinidad during the course of this week, and he's going to be given 150 acres of land in Berbice.
This is a Trinidad businessman? Or
Yes.
foreign? All right.
150 acres. Right? I don't call the person name, but I don't know we name already because the contract was the office of the Attorney General for about 2 weeks, and he's signing off on it, and just so they tell the man come. No tendering, no procedure by which other persons could have gotten access. And this is what is happening, Adam. Everybody's afraid now to confront Barrett Jaglio. He is the tender board. He's every single thing. You have to go to him. And this is why he has this attitude that when I think one of the media houses asked him, what about post-cabinet press conferences? He said, you don't go to cabinet. Why you have to keep post-cabinet press conference for? That is the attitude. But the point I'm making to you is that what we are seeing here is what Glenn Lall used to speak about in the 23 years.
That is their attitude. Man, I tell you guys, I'm becoming more and more, day by day, ashamed of being a Guyanese. This man is a lawyer. This man is a lawyer. You know, I got to be a lawyer, you know. I have to be a lawyer. To listen to these people. When you listen to these people, it makes my heart more sick. Oh my gosh. Yes. He said, if you name Muhammad or something like that, you should, like that, you stand a better chance of getting anything. You can get a contract for security, to build a prison, contract to do quarrying, to provide transportation, and so the world is at your feet simply because you have access to the President finale. Wow. He said the business community is afraid to speak because of fear. He said the Trinidad companies coming here and are handed everything while we locals are being shafted. He said the Chamber of Commerce and the private sector are afraid to speak. I smiled when I heard that, because I want to ask the opposition leader, where is his mouth? When last he held a press conference to talk anything of substance in this land? He is the one. He is the opposition leader, Josh, that should have been standing up for the Guyanese people. Instead, he turned it around, saying the Guyanese people are afraid to speak. Are you listening to these people good?
To speak for us.
Are you really look up to these people as leaders?
Leaders.
You guys heard him? That's his own words. He asking when last you hear the Transparency International say anything about this government. Mr. Harmon, nobody has to come here and speak for you. You got to get up and get out and speak up for the people of this country. You hold a constitutional office as opposition leader, bro. The people voted for you to represent them, not no transparency body to come here and represent them. Guyanese should not depend on foreign institution for come tell we what's going on in this country. You are the one who should be telling this nation what is going on. What a country this is, eh? Huh? Are you could really believe these people? Josh, do you have a next one here?
Yeah.
Just play it, man.
Seats, we will stand up. We're not going to bow down to the pressure of a majority. The tyranny of a majority is not going to work with us. And what we are saying is that we're calling on all Guyanese, here and abroad, to work with us. As you know, there are some places in the United States and so on, some of the cities, our Guyanese brethren out there, brothers and sisters, have actually made some very clear statements about what is taking place in this country. Congressmen in the United States have actually come out. Some of them said they will visit and we welcome them. We have people who are coming out every week to get an update. They are calling us for briefs. And so, as this year of infamy has taken place, we want the world to know that we have not agreed to anything that is unlawful, that we have got 2 petitions which we filed before the courts, and those petitions are still live in the courts. We want to see also that apart from the petitions in court, that we will continue to engage with all of the agencies. We continue to brief them on what is taking place.
Just in case you join us, you have heard the leader of the opposition, Joseph Harman, speaking there just now. He said, he's not going to bow down, he's going to stand up. Y'all could find him. Y'all, anybody could find him for me? Because I want him. And I'm certain y'all want him.
Yes.
Or join him to bring about a change in all the contracts, especially the ExxonMobil contract.
Yes. That's what you wanted to stand up for.
That's what we want you to stand up for, brother. What do you say, Josh?
Yes. Absolutely. Stand up to ExxonMobil. Nobody else.
He called on the people here and overseas to work with him. We ready, brother. People got to come from overseas. We ready to work with you right now
Yes.
to take to the streets.
Yes, we can.
The opposition leader said he got 2 petitions filed in the court, and that those petitions are still lying in the courts. Also, apart from the petitions in the court, he said he can engage all the agencies and brief them as to what is taking place in Guyana. Man, these people can be real in this land.
Did you brief anybody inside
Huh?
the project?
When I heard about the petitions this man talk about, you remember, Donald Trump came to mind. The lawyers representing the petitions they filed against Biden for the 2020 elections is now facing disbarment for wasting and abusing the privileges of being an attorney at law. And not one of them, Bernard. It's about 9 of them from different states. A judge had to say, just a few days ago, she would not sit back and allow lawyers to make the judiciary into a clown show for politicians. You can Google that story. Rachel Maddow put it very beautifully. I think it was on her Wednesday night program. Yes, petitions. You guys remember the coalition went to court to say 33 is not a greater number
Oh, yeah.
in 65?
Isn't that I'm sure? Yes.
And I am pretty much certain all of you heard what the judges at the CCJ told Basil Williams and the others who took that matter there. I was ashamed during that protest to call myself a Guyanese. A man who went to a primary school, not a high school or a university. I love this country, Bernard. But like I said, soon I'll be a lawyer. I have to be a lawyer to defend and represent myself. If Joseph Harmon, Basil Williams, Kemraj Ramjatan, Raphael Trotman, Moses Nagamutu can be lawyers and doesn't know 33 and doesn't know 33 is greater than 32 in 65 seats in Parliament. Man, Anthony, for certain, Glenn Lall can become a lawyer.
To become president.
Because nothing will do me. Go to invite me, can't invite me. I don't think so. I gotta be a lawyer. When I done P.F. Brasington and his lawyers, I gonna start saving to take the course in Trinidad to be a lawyer. It's the University of West Indies, right?
Yes.
Yes, I go in there.
Or you can get the ELLB.
No. The EMBA, what Brasington have, and the EMBA, what Robert Prasad have, them get them online.
Get your law degree online. It's straightforward.
Yeah, well, maybe I should start now.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Get
so.
your ELLB.
Guyana, brothers and sisters, I am talking to you people now, not them in this radio station. When you listen to these people, the way they coil their hands and their tongues, you would want to believe these people. They really have your interests at heart.
Yeah.
And they're looking out for y'all interest,
Yeah.
y'all well-being. You guys better wake up to reality.
Yeah.
And don't listen to their words, but look at their actions. Because you know there's a saying, Josh, that action speaks louder than words.
Yes. So true.
This is the reason why Glenn Lall can never see eye to eye with any one of these politicians. I have never did, you know. Over the years, I have never, ever did.
Difference between integrity
Yes.
and not
Yes.
having any.
I can't. Because I just can't. I just don't want to be around them.
Can't be fake.
Yeah.
Can't be
I know when they put me up. And I watch their face.
fake and phony.
Oh man.
Liars.
Oh man. You gotta see how they down their head. And twist their eye. And twist their face.
Yep.
Shame. I see it in them, man.
When confronted with the truth, they
I
can't look you
s-
in your eyes.
Exactly. They can't look you in your eyes.
You represent the truth.
Brothers and sisters, these people are not genuine. And I can repeat that. They are not genuine. All of them don't care for none of y'all. All they concerned with is their own selves. Their own selves. Their families and their friends. That's what they're looking out for. And those words came out of his mouth too. Those words that came out of their mouth, man, you guys gotta take them with a pong of salt. A pong of salt. Don't believe these people. Don't. And for the other side, the PPP. Don't believe them too. They're all a bunch of what?
Lawyers.
Yes.
Lawyers.
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 This is a lovely country. Eh?
Beautiful.
You have another piece of
Yes, I do.
video to play. Could you please play it?
Sure.
So when they were confronted, they got to publish the report. In fact, I think the report showed that there was actually a decline, but then at the bottom of it, they said, but the oil economy has increased. Right? But the rest of the economy, there's been no increase. And this is because there is no real economic plan which this country and which the PVP regime that they're following. It's a hodgepodge. You're a little bit here and a little bit there. They speak about sugar, they speak about re-establishing the sugar industry, and that's a total, a total collapse, total craziness that's taking place in the sugar industry. Oil, we are not getting sufficient information on the oil and gas sector. Environment is in a mess. They're cutting down mangroves like they're heading good. And still justifying that when in fact it is creating a problem for the citizens who live along the coast and what it's going to do about flooding. Our environment is in a mess. The EPA is in a mess. I can say that to you because they are signing off on important projects without any environmental impact assessment being done. And all of these projects, particularly along the coast, along the Demerara River, along the Atlantic coast, all of them require significant environmental studies because lives are going to be affected. Livelihoods are going to be affected. But all of them now, because of the instructions from Sparendam, approved. So the Guyanese lives mean nothing much now to them once business takes place and their friends make money.
These people's lives are at stake. Once business go on and them make money. Wow. You guys really, how you feel about listening to these words, man?
I don't want to listen to somebody like that.
Huh?
I don't want to listen to
Oh
lies.
my.
You take us as fools.
Nonsense.
You take us as
I don't
fools.
have time
The opposition leader said,
nonsense.
the PPP have no economic plan.
He doesn't.
It's a hodgepodge.
Hodgepodge.
A little bit here and a little bit there. He said the oil. We're not getting any information on it. He said they're cutting down mangroves like they're heading good. This thing mangroves, oh my gosh. He gone back with the same crap. We take speedboat and go see little mangroves where the people cut down there. He said they're going to cause damage to the environment and people's lives.
But
The 2% EX and all they're going to destroy the land.
And what it will do with flooding. Oh my gosh, something is wrong with these people, man. But this guy didn't say nothing about what ExxonMobil is doing out there.
Of course not. He said they would.
Or maybe, you know what, he doesn't understand what ExxonMobil is doing out there. He doesn't understand
Yes.
that it's greater disaster
Yes.
for Guyana
Yes.
and the region
Yeah.
and the world at large. Maybe this kid doesn't understand that. He doesn't understand what flaring does
Yes.
or is doing to the world.
Right.
Not a few mangroves
Yes.
disturbing the environment
Yes.
and will cause flooding. Mr. Harmon, the produced water
Killing all the fishes.
that comes from way beneath the ocean floor, that is what is caused flooding and destruction to our seafood.
Yes.
That is what will cause destruction to people's lives. Not a couple mangroves. That is what is killing all the fishes that would left you and your family, if you continue to live in this land, to eat them little cackabelly, whether in front the gutter in front of your house. Because there will be no seafood for any Guyanese to eat, Mr. Harmon. That is what is causing environmental damages and flooding and harmful to the world, Mr. Harmon. Josh,
Yes.
I'm tired with these people. It sicks my soul listening to these morons,
Yes, me too. Not more.
what they are telling our brothers and sisters of this land. He said the environment is in a mess. The EPA is in a mess because they're signing off on important projects. It's the gas to shore projects he's talking about. But he's not telling the Guyanese people that is he and his government who initiated that project. Them is the one who identified Wales and other places to put this gas to shore project without even doing an environmental impact study. He is complaining now that the government is not doing the right thing and just signing off. You hear me? He and his government did not even do a proper viability study. Financial viability. And he now blaming government. He talk about all over the coast will be hampered, but doesn't know that when you get a little oil spill out there without full cover insurance, my friend, the whole region will be destroyed. Not only the coastline of Guyana, Mr. Harmon, the entire region. And you didn't say nothing about that. You know what? During his whole hour and something interview with Adam Harris, he mentioned nothing, absolutely nothing about our oil contract or any other contracts made with the foreigners. He said nothing about the oil, nothing about the expenses being created daily by the oil companies. He said nothing about when they will begin to audit all the billions already thrown at us. He said nothing about the dry and wet holes that is costing Guyana in the billions of American dollars. Remember, ExxonMobil done drill about 80. If you put that at 100, this is just an estimation, is $8 billion we already have. Because CGX drilled one dry hole last year in the quarantine block and pelt us with a bill of $155 million US. And just boasting, they were just boasting a few days ago how they're going to drill another one. Didn't find any oil, don't know if they will find, but they can boast to their partners and stakeholders how Guyana is their cash cow with the help of our leaders. Mr. Harmon didn't say nothing about that. Billions of US dollars. The opposition leader didn't say a word. You know what he find to talk about in the interview? I am so ashamed to play it. And I wouldn't. I wanted you to play it, Josh, but don't play it.
Okay.
I am ashamed to do that.
Me too.
How the little COVID money, them approve in Parliament, the government now share them equally. 2, remember the cash grant?
Yes.
Them candy money?
Yes.
He talk about that too. Police promotion,
Yes.
that we talk about. Vaccination
Yes.
is another one. The biggest drug bust in Guyana. He find time for talk about that. High crime rate, digital suppression, PPP paying online drones, and the PPP fire a lot of people. That's what he find time to sit down and talk about with one man, Adam Harris. Just like Jagdev. Jagdev was find time to sit down hours with one man. critic, but none of them does find time to sit down with the real press, to take real questions. No. This is how they're running your country, brother. This is what is happening in this land, sister. Yes. Them few pennies they're throwing at y'all. He didn't say nothing about the interest rate we paying on Exxon loan. He didn't say Guyana losing 365 million American and plus American dollars on them boat supplies and them helicopter services. And the many other costs. Wow. You know, if Guyana curtail them costs that, Mr. Harmon, the government don't have to give pennies as COVID relief and cash grants. They can give each household $1 million a day. Guyana, brothers and sisters, this is how these people looking out for y'all interests. Y'all need help. Y'all need help in this country. And let me say this boldly. These leaders can't help y'all.
True.
Start looking for leaders.
Yes.
And not sheepers to run this country.
Yes. Leaders.
When I listen to the leaders of this country, I don't have to go to the university to understand that we really need help in this land to move forward. When leaders can employ persons without an iota of knowledge to carry out their functions, what they're tasked with, and don't qualify, it's sad. There's no hope for development in this country. Especially when you put a man without an accounting certificate, a man without an MBA, but an EMBA to run $1 billion investment. God help this land. Brothers and sisters, I listened to a speech given by the Barbados Prime Minister, Mia Mottley, delivered at the launching of the Pivot Movement. That organization was formed by a branch of the IDB in the Caribbean to push the region into a more developed place. That Prime Minister shared her vision as to what she wants to see this region become. I beg you, please listen to the Prime Minister words carefully that I am about to play and draw your own conclusion if Guyana will ever get a leader of this kind. Listen to these leaders. I am convinced, Joshua, I am convinced, Harris, Bernard, and Anthony, that we have some babies running this land. And I shudder to think what will become of you and future generations. Josh, could you play that video? I'll be back Monday to take your calls. So good night. Thanks for listening. Enjoy your weekend. If you can, with that little bit you have. God bless all of you. And have a good night. Please play that video.
Thank you very much, Golda, and I want to say hello to everyone who was on the seminar this morning. Let me tell you, there's a barrier I was born into. There's a barrier that every small islander inherits, especially after colonialism. It is the barrier of self-contempt. You're a little place. You're not metropolitan. You wouldn't send men to the moon. You wouldn't invent the latest greatest computer. And you're not making any destructive weapons so you can kill the next man and take all his property and call it yours. You're a little island. So you're born into a situation where you feel lesser than other people, and it's called self-contempt. But once I began to shed my self-contempt after the power of this thing we call mass was revealed to me, it becomes a mission of mine to help people shed this self-contempt. Because some people still don't understand that the things that we do best are worthy of hallelujahs. I start with the words that aren't mine, but those are the words of the iconic Guyanese Trinidadian massman Peter Minshall, a god to many. Minshall is undoubtedly one of the Caribbean's greatest creatives. For his carnival work, yes, but more for his art direction. This quote is from an interview that he did in 1995, just under 1 year after I became Minister of Culture, 1 year after I entered into the Cabinet of Barbados, which came after he had already directed, by the way, the opening ceremonies of the 1992 Barcelona Olympics and the 1994 FIFA World Cup. He would go on to create the opening ceremonies for the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, the 2002 Salt Lake Winter Olympics, and the 2007 Cricket World Cup, with which I had the honor to work with him personally. Peter Minshall personifies world class. He is in the business, my friends, of the moonshots of which I spoke. While Minshall's artistic license frees him up to use terms such as self-contempt to describe the Caribbean's underdevelopment, my technical sensibilities draw me to the more balanced phrasing of cultural confidence, or more to the point of lack of cultural confidence. From political unrest to gun violence to bleaching of skins, the root of so many of our current regional problems boils down, I believe, to issues of identity and lack of cultural confidence. And that is why in our own Covenant of Hope, we literally put as the first chapter identity and confidence, because without that we will go nowhere. That's why on my phone I carried a picture of the late great Robert Nesta Marley to remind me of two phrases: emancipate yourselves from mental slavery, and of course, what does it profit a man to gain the world and to lose his soul? Neither of those statements are original to Bob, but Bob understood the power of amplification with respect to them. He understood what it would do to our identity and to our cultural confidence. He understood that he was speaking each day and every day to that little boy and that little girl going into primary school, going into secondary school. At the end of the day, I ask us, who are we? What makes us? How do we solve our own problems? What is our purpose? What is the value of our contribution? As a region, we had all of this and so much more to consider. And then, boops, comes COVID. But you will forgive me, as an eternal optimist and an unwavering believer in the capacity of Caribbean people, I do not see identity issues as irreversible character flaws, nor do I see COVID-19 as an insurmountable challenge, nor do I believe that cultural values and cultural mores don't change. 50 years ago, we didn't play banjo on a Sunday. What is banjo, you ask? Any kind of music that is not hymns or gospel. But now throughout the region, that has changed. Some will argue change for the worse, some will argue change for more tolerance. But whatever it is, the point is cultural values and cultural mores change. So rather, I see this simply as part of a process of our development. I see it as part of our growing up, as part of the recognition that as adults we make choices and there are consequences to choices. And to that extent, our family, our parents, our extended family and our community must help nurture us in the choices that we have to make. We have moved, my friends, beyond our tenuous toddler and moody teen years, where we were dependent on others for basic needs, beyond the rebelliousness of young adulthood and the stabilizing middle-age period. And now, like many 40 to 60-year-olds, we in the Caribbean are in a period of resilience and smart investment to secure our future. For countries, just like with humans, this natural cycle of development, of maturing and of overcoming difficult periods cannot be successfully achieved without first addressing some hard truths. As I say to my people in Barbados all the time, you can't expect to be an adult without having difficult conversations. That's just life. The hard truth is that the Caribbean exited colonialism without the benefit of a development pact. I've been saying so every day for the last few months. Why? Because the whole Black Lives Matter movement has literally reinforced in us the need to examine who we are and how we have gotten where we are. This truth resonates particularly deeply with me in this year, which marks, within a few days, the 75th anniversary of the United Nations founding on October 24th. Our eldest regional siblings, Jamaica and Trinidad, are only 58 years old. Thus, the rules of engagement were established well before we became sovereign states, and yet they have not been extended to us in full. Still, even without the input and resources that were afforded to many European and Asian states by multilateral bodies, the Caribbean region has done a commendable job in providing for the needs of its people. We're not where we want to be, but we've done a lot to come from where we were in that 1930s moment that literally scarred our landscapes from the north right down to the south. For us in the Caribbean, the hard truth is that in the last 40 years, our dependency has transitioned from one vulnerable sector, agriculture, to another vulnerable sector, as we now know so well, tourism. Though operationally vastly different industries, the macro analysis presents, unfortunately, similar traits: volatile products, highly fluctuating seasonal revenues, global marketplaces that dictate our prices, and high susceptibility to hurricanes, and now, as we know, pandemics. But may I also say, the hurricanes really represent only the heart attacks of the climate crisis. We face the chronic NCDs in so many ways, not just in terms of our bodily health, but in terms of the climate crisis, namely the droughts and indeed the sargassum that continue to bedevil those who depend on coastal businesses to make their living. The hard truth, my friends, is that Peter Minshall is right. The Caribbean has not, regrettably, been in the business of moonshots sufficiently. Our region, in an age of rapid and bold digital innovation globally, has been slow to digitize and timid to innovate. Not all, but not across the scale. It's not a bad place. Indeed, for the most part, it is a very good place for us to live. You and I know that. But without the safety net afforded to other countries, we have been hesitant to strive to be the best or the first in this region. Our governments, our financial institutions, our schools, our churches, and our agencies have been regrettably too hostile to risk and resistant to new actions and new ideas. But why? I ask you why. After all, this is the region that produced George Headley, C.L.R. James, Errol Barrow, Kincaid, Eric Williams, Robert Nesta Marley, Sir Arthur Lewis, Brian Lara, Derek Walcott, Naipaul, Armour Trading, Viv Richards, Shirley Chisholm. I could go on and on. Usain Bolt, the Right Excellency Gary Sobers, and of course our own Robin Rihanna Fenty. We are a region that has already solved some of the most difficult of the so-called developed world's problems with our universal education. People don't talk about it. Our universal education. Our universal health care. People don't talk about it. Our stable political system. People take it for granted. Our freedom of choice and social partnerships, hardly ever mentioned. We are a place of critical, creative thinkers. We like to abuse one another, and we like to use colorful language. We are revolutionaries in our own way. We are inventors, artists, and pioneers. We have already produced the best, and we've already been the first. But why do we resist scale? Why do we not understand that scale is at the heart of transformation? How as a collective can we not put our own perspective and flair on this digital revolution? My friends, simply put, how can we pivot? I I suspect that you, like most of the Caribbean youth of today, already know the answer. The future of the world, and by extension, our future, the future of the Caribbean, is largely in technology. In 1994, when I became Minister of Education and Youth and Culture, I reflected then that we were in a position where we could literally use technology not for its own sake, but deeply use it as an embedded engine of every sector of our region. I asked us then to remember that it was a powerful tool, but in so remembering, to remember that it did not alter the essence of who we are, because who we are is determined by our values, and our values determine how we use that tool. True prosperity and transformation, my friends, will not come from Caribbean technologies until we have the cultural confidence that Peter Minshall exhibited when he put stilt walkers at the Barcelona Olympiad. We must have the cultural confidence to develop technologies of our own kind on a timeline that plays to our strengths and which captures the imagination of our own people. We must become a developer of ideas and technologies that allow us to overcome the everyday disadvantages of being a small island developing state. That will allow us to overcome our small population, our small economy, our vulnerability to natural disasters, and our very difficult history of slavery and colonialism. The late Professor, the Right Honourable Owen Arthur, former Prime Minister of Barbados, once asked, in what sense is McDonald's superior to a fish fry at Oystins? Or in what sense is jerk pork in Jamaica inferior to McDonald's? Or Laba and Creek water in Guyana? Why should we yield on the preservation of our cultural icons, that traditional way of life inherent in small states, which is so relaxing and rewarding, and which makes living in a small state such an unforgettable experience to become just another cultural and social statistics? Those were Owen's words. COVID-19 and its impact on our tourism-dependent economies means the time is now for regional governments to develop and implement disruptive and forward-thinking program concepts, policies, and platforms that fast-track the development of a Caribbean technology economy. At the core of this, my friends, transformation must be the sustainable maximization of our most highly valued assets. You know them, and I know them. Our people, our ideas, our geography, our climate, yes, our climate, and our culture. It is only when we increase our cultural confidence and thus maximize the power of our creative imagination that we will be able to build technologies that unlock our region's true potential. We will begin to see that because we are surrounded on all sides by the sea, SEA, our ocean economy is primed for expansion. We will begin to see that our lack of scale steers us to focus on producing quality rather than quantity, thus enhancing our high-value manufacturing sector and what ought to be a propensity for research and development. We will also see that the constant threat of hurricanes makes us global experts, yes, in the business of climate resilience. My friends, in the immortal words of that great Trinidadian luminary C.L.R. James, I quote, "Nobody knows what the Caribbean population is capable of. Nobody has ever attempted to find out," unquote. I say the duty is ours together to pivot right now to find out what that capable Caribbean person is about and what capacity our region is capable of. And I ask us to do so in the words of Therese just now, that we do so by thinking big and working together, because only then will we have the scale and will we have the capacity to transform what I believe is that special place on earth. We have been that region that has led the world in humanization. We have been that region that has continued to focus on the centrality of that individual person. We have been that region that has sought more for social justice, we can be that region that explores new possibilities and new realities for the 21st century for the globe. It's not just about Africa, it's not just about Asia leading the world. The Caribbean has the potential to be that entity and that region that can continue to point the way. I thank you.
Joshua, the woman said,
Join kids.
if we can put our heads together, we can make this region the best place on earth. You know, I love that woman. That woman should take over the whole region, not only Barbados. I want a leader like that. When you listen to her, that's a woman with vision. She understands how to make decisions, business decisions. I am told that there isn't an opposition in Barbados, that she won all the seats in Parliament. You can see why.
Yes.
All the seats she has in Parliament, there is no opposition.
So well.
Hmm?
That's why
She's an extremely powerful and smart woman. I want leaders like that.
Yes.
I think she should come here and school of the leaders of this land. Josh, you have any telephone calls?
No.
I'm going to take one.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead. Turn on the mic. You need leaders like this, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Go ahead.
Good night, Mr. Lall. I have two questions.
Go ahead.
My first question to you is, you have said that you are ashamed to be a Guyanese. Can you elaborate on that? Why you feel ashamed to be a Guyanese?
Tony, if anybody sit in my chair for a month, you will, and I've been sitting there for the last 27 years, I have seen more than enough what has been taking place in this country. From every sector, what's going on. I have twin grandsons. They're 4 years old. And I am pretty much certain when I speak to them, if you explain certain things to them, they will make better judgment and decisions than many, almost all the leaders of this country. They're that smart. As for my 9-year-old queen, man, when I talk to she, sometimes I can only smile and say, baby, my wish is that you become leader one day of this land. She's extremely brilliant. The things that I have seen, the projects I have seen these people go on with, the way they have been leading this land, you know, in this 21st century, you spending billions to put cane cutters to cut cane, and you are the largest oil producer in a few years' time. You put people to cut cane, and we still got donkey carts in this road. You hear me? It saddens. It saddens your spirit, your soul, and everything when you see every day what these people doing. You know, they're not moving this country forward. This country is going backward. Like, I've said it. The traffic congestion that's going on here, this country is going backwards, but they can't see it. You see the little buildings going up, and you see people buying able to put a little house on. That's not development. Guyana is not going anywhere. Guyana is not growing either. The little things you see going on there is a bit of skullduggery here, not bit, is all skullduggery here and there with what? With our own little resources we have. It is being squandered. No taxes are being paid by some people. And who hustle and catch your hand, all the hustling to do, like everybody's aim in life, is to have their own little home and a little car and a little job. So it's a hustle going on here. This is more a hustle each day and night night after night, day after day. Nothing in growing, nothing in doing. The leaders just going there, collect the money as taxes and little revenues here and little revenue there, and they are not doing anything substantial, anything that can benefit the country, to grow this country, brother. This is why I'm ashamed to be a Guyanese. I think that something is wrong with the leaders of this land in every sector. How do I? There is no department in this country, government department, agencies or corporations that is being run that can generate money to pay for itself. Let's look at the Chronicle, because I'm in the newspaper business. Right? You got to look what's going on in the Chronicle there. They can't survive by themselves. You understand? Look at many state agencies. They cannot run. It's not being run. GPL running, and they have to keep pumping money there all the time. Gaisuku's worse. Everything, man. Every single thing, you name it.
Ponzi schemes.
All are Ponzi schemes. You're correct. So Guyana isn't growing. I keep telling you all the destruction, the damages that are being done on a daily basis to this land by these foreign companies. We would be left, the little money that we were getting would not be enough to fix back them. Not make them over brand new, but just patch them here and there. So, like I said, I'm going to go to Suriname and live.
And Josh, if you don't have a phone call, I have a
go ahead with
follow-up question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Any phone calls? My follow-up question, sir, is, since you said you're ashamed to be a Guyanese, how can you also say that you love this country?
I love the country. I love this country. I born in this country. I grew up in this country. I have never lived anywhere out of this country. I have not spent more than 7 weeks of my life in any country on earth, but live here. This is my land. I love this country. But I just beginning to feel that I'm hating myself for being a Guyanese, brother. Not for what is happening in this land. Not when you listen to Joseph Harmon just now. It's like a fight down, it's like a cuss down, it's abuse down. You know? Nothing of substance. Nothing that can uplift people. The people who voted for him.
Nothing like Mia.
Yes.
What she just said,
yes.
What he said.
Yes. Listen to woman.
It's like a primary student speak and a university student speak.
Exactly.
So we have primary school people leading us.
I was told he had a press conference today. And I didn't get a chance to listen to it. But I will listen to it and I'll get back to you with what he said during that press conference today. After how long? Right? That will be coming. I'm going to look at it and maybe Monday I'll speak on it.
And you're going to check to make sure if he said anything about the elephant in the room.
Well, we'll look at it.
You know who the elephant in the room is, right?
No.
That long speech he gave, but he never mentioned Exxon or the contract, which is the elephant in the room.
Yeah, nothing whatsoever hearing from them. So it tells you that this land has been gone.
And did I hear you correctly? You said you're going to move to Suriname?
Yes, I'm going to move to Suriname. I want to learn Dutch. I want to go there and live. It's sad. Joshua, it's sad. And like when I finish talking, I get in some texts here. They're sad. People are sad. People don't know what to say. Many of them texting me, Mr. Lall, you don't know what to say after you finish talking.
And many of them feels like you that they love this country,
exactly.
But at the same time, they hate being a Guyanese.
Yes, exactly.
So you're speaking for a lot of Guyanese.
Yes.
Well, I know for sure I'm speaking about myself, how I feel. You know?
And
I think I owe it to this country to tell you guys as brothers and sisters what's happening. You must be able to see it. We have for the last 30 years, this country, all you hear is this one do this and that one do that.
Yep.
No,
Childish
man, no.
politics.
No, we want them to chart a way forward, and you must be open and clear with it. You know, you must tell us. Look, he talked about when Adam Harris interviewed him. He said he's going to talk about emancipation and the 1 year, the 1 year of the PPP in government. But what did he say? He said nothing about emancipation. He said nothing about the PPP, but just cussing on them, you know, abusing on them. And I'm like, wow, these people, man, I'm tired. Josh, I need to take an early night. Good evening, guys, and God bless you all. Josh, give them something else to play.
One man against the world.
Yeah, one man against the world or something.
One man against the world.